Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to another episode of News Dose, where I keep you up to date with all of the latest gaming news, and we have a busy episode ahead of us. A lot of things happened today, some of it was good, while others not so much because we did get a few game delays, including the highly anticipated Final Fantasy VII Remake. Though it isn't a major delay being only 1 month, it however may have an unfortunate impact that I will talk about here in just a moment. Also, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's new character is incoming fast with an announcement coming soon, and we got a couple of new Nintendo Switch game announcements today that I think will get more than a few fans excited, plus more, so stay tuned for all of that. But let's get right into the video, starting off with Square Enix delaying both Final Fantasy VII Remake and The Avengers. Final Fantasy VII Remake will only be delayed by 1 month to April 10th to better ensure the game is ready and more polished, while The Avengers is being delayed all the way to September, which was originally slated for May, so that is a much more significant game delay than Final Fantasy VII Remake, or at least in terms of how long it will be delayed. And as I said before, Final Fantasy VII only being delayed by 1 month doesn't really seem all that big of a deal, or at least until I started looking at what games was releasing in that time frame. So starting off in April, you will have the release of Resident Evil 3 Remake releasing on April 3rd, and then on the 17th, you have Cyberpunk 2077 by CD Projekt Red, which will no doubt be one of the biggest releases of this entire year. So now Final Fantasy VII Remake will be sandwiched between these two behemoths, but of course, Final Fantasy VII is a behemoth all on its own. It's just unfortunate because I do think some people are going to be stuck with a really tough decision, as they may not have enough time to buy all three of these games at launch and play them since they're releasing so close to one another. So then people may have to hold out on buying one or two of these, and I would be willing to bet that Cyberpunk 2077 is likely to be a very lengthy game as well, which doesn't help matters at all. I mean, if you compare this to the original launch date for Final Fantasy, which would have been March, its biggest competition would have been Doom Eternal, you have Animal Crossing New Horizon, and Half-Life Alyx, two of which wouldn't even be available on the PlayStation 4, so I think the timing would have been much better. Of course, this isn't just about timing though, as a delay could mean a better overall game as they continue to polish it and work out the bugs. For me though, I know that I don't have time to play all three of these, and one thing that I'm looking at is that we do know that Final Fantasy VII Remake is a timed exclusive and that it will be coming to next generation consoles, and more than likely it'll be coming to PC as well. So I'm thinking maybe I should just hold off until then, and it will also be closer to the Final Fantasy VII Part 2 release. So, I mean, who knows though, I'll more than likely buy Final Fantasy VII sometimes this year, even if I don't at launch, because the game does look fantastic and I probably won't be able to wait a full year to play it. Nonetheless though, I want your opinion on the new release date. Will you pick up Final Fantasy VII day one, or will you instead pick up another game like Cyberpunk or even Resident Evil 3? Maybe you'll end up getting all three day one, and that's great too. Let me know in the comments below. And since we're on the topic of PlayStation related games, PlayStation launched a new event in New York City today by the name of Experience PlayStation. This is apparently a smaller event meant for fans that will be running all the way to February 16th, though just because it is a small event for fans, I don't think that we should ignore it either. The thing is, Sony announced yesterday that PlayStation would be skipping E3 for the second year in a row, and they actually mentioned something about hundreds of events, so I think this is what they were talking about. But either way, the decision not to go to E3, that's definitely polarizing. But I think by this point, everybody is expecting Sony to announce their own big PlayStation event at some point, and a lot of people have been predicting February. So is it possible that on February 16th, when Experience PlayStation wraps up, maybe they could announce this new PlayStation event, where they, reveal the PlayStation 5? I mean, it's possible, though I'm just speculating. Nonetheless, if you are in New York City, go check out Experience PlayStation. You can even get your hands on a VR headset to test it out if you haven't experienced VR for yourself yet. It's one thing to see a VR trailer, on a 2D screen, but when you actually experience for yourself, I mean, it's an amazing experience, so go check that out if you can. Moving on, we have a few Nintendo related announcements, one being that Sakurai will be revealing the new Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC character this Thursday. This will be the final character from the Season 1 DLC pass, and the stream is going to be a whopping 35 minutes long. That is pretty lengthy, though I can understand why, as Sakurai will likely go into great details about all of the different mechanics and moves for this character, as well as talk about the new stage, music, and so on and so forth. I'm pretty much expecting it to be exactly like the last few character announcements, and I know Sakurai jokes about it being a budget issue, but in all honesty, I like it way more this way. Nintendo Directs are cool and everything, but fighting games has a lot of little mechanics that makes a character special, so having Sakurai explain this type of stuff is really cool. Plus, you can tell Sakurai is extremely passionate about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. As to what this mystery character could be, I honestly have no clue. I had been predicting Banjo-Kazooie for a long time, as there was just a ton of little hints and nods to them making the Smash Bros. Roster, but moving forward, I feel like anything can happen. I mean, if you can get an Xbox character in Super Smash Bros., almost anything can happen. Honestly, I wouldn't have even expected Terry from Fatal Fury to make the cut, but that isn't a bad thing. I like to be surprised. I would, however, like to hear some characters that you would like to see make Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and that is something I want everybody to remember Thursday. Yes, this will be the final character for the Fighter Pass, but they are planning to do more after that, so even if the character you want does not make the cut, don't be too upset because there still is a chance. Overall, I think Nintendo did a good job with Season 1 as well. For me, Banjo alone made it amazing, but there was also the Dragon Quest hero, which is huge for Japan, and then you had the Persona 5 protagonist, as well as Terry, and even the Piranha Plant. So yeah, Sakurai and his team did an amazing job. And speaking of Nintendo, there was a new game announcement for the Nintendo Switch, Genshin Impact, which was previously announced as a PlayStation 4 exclusive. I actually found this news to be pretty amusing because last year when this game got announced, there was some pretty angry fans at Genshin Impact's developers because it very clearly looks like Zelda Breath of the Wild. Some even thinks it's straight up a clone. So when they first announced this game in China, this is a Chinese developer, a fan smashed a PlayStation 4 in protest. This is a little dramatic, but there was a bit of an outcry even online, as a lot of fans did not like that Genshin Impact appeared to be a Breath of the Wild clone, and it was also an exclusive to PlayStation 4 on top of that. Well, now that some time has passed, this game is also going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch, and even though the original story was amusing, I think Nintendo fans will be relatively accepting of this game. There is always going to be games that takes inspiration from others, and while they often do fail, every once in a while a game will succeed. I'm going to use Blossom Tales as an example, which is a bit of an isometric Zelda clone, but with its own spin on it, and it's a good game because of that. The question is, will Genshin Impact be good or not? That's still up for debate, but I will certainly keep an eye out for it. Genshin Impact wasn't the only game-related news for Nintendo though, because Bioshock Collection has been rated on the Taiwanese game rating board for the Nintendo Switch. This could signify that Bioshock Collection will indeed be coming to the Nintendo Switch at some point, which would be really cool. Bioshock is one of those games that I think defined the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 as it was among the very best franchises of that generation. They really are great games, and I think that they would fit really well on the Nintendo Switch. Honestly, I would even be tempted to get it on the Switch myself. It really is a fantastic franchise, and I'd be excited to see it. There is two other games I want to talk about real quick before we move on to our final topic, because the developer behind Skies of Arcadia, Kenji Haruta, posted on Twitter that he strongly wants to do a sequel for Skies of Arcadia, and he seems to be trying to urge fans to request Sega to do this. Skies of Arcadia is a game that released on the Sega Dreamcast way back in 2000, and it's a bit of a classic. The thing is, I think if Kenji Haruta wants to do this, I would like to see it happen. I think we could always use more JRPGs, and I'm hoping Sega signs off on this. Nonetheless, you Skies of Arcadia fans, you may want to take to Twitter and contact Sega for a sequel. Konami also has a new game in development for the Nintendo Switch by the name of Solomon Program, which is apparently some kind of RPG where you battle monsters. As of this moment, there's not really much information. We got this picture of a monster to go by, but I get the sense this may be similar to something like Pokemon, but not much is known just yet. I am cautiously optimistic about this one though. I mean, on one side, I like the sounds of it, and even the monster design we have seen is really cool, but on the other hand, it's made by Konami, and I wouldn't exactly say they have a great track record as of late. Apparently though, there will be a demo for this game in the next Japanese Mira Koro comic, so I'm hoping we have some kind of video of this game in the next few days. Now the last thing I want to talk about is the Epic Game Store. Epic did reveal some numbers behind the Epic Game Store, and they have managed to reel in 108 million customers who have spent a total of $680 million. And while those numbers are certainly outstanding, it is important to note here that doesn't mean that Epic Games have profited $680 million, but it is still impressive as the Epic Game Store is looking more and more like a real competitor in the PC game space. Obviously, Steam is still far ahead, but Epic Game Store has been gaining traction through aggressive tactics such as exclusive game deals, free promotional games, and their 88-12 revenue split with developers. This in return has gotten even more developers on board, and we have even seen PlayStation make the Epic Game Store their go-to PC marketplace with releases such as Detroit Become Human and Beyond Two Souls. Luckily for us consumers, Epic will also be continuing with more free games throughout 2020 as well, though I seem to never really remember this and thus have missed out on several free games. Hopefully this year I'll do better about that. The thing about EGS though is how fans perceive it, because a lot of fans still really hate the Epic Game Store, and I think that has a lot to do with the lack of features from EGS, and because of that, fans feel as if they are playing on a lesser service. Then the fact that the Epic Game Store has several exclusive game deals forces people to play on there, which has made fans even more angry. So I think if Epic is going to do one thing this year, I think that they really should try to add more features to make it better and more similar to Steam. I mean, similar is probably not the right word there, but I do think that they need to improve on the feature side of things. That's just my opinion, but I do think Epic will push Steam to improve and vice versa. It will be interesting to see what these services look like a few years from now. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit that bell notification and subscribe button. Peace out.